what goes down? I don't even know what goes down. So was the reception? They had a reception and everything, right?
Oh, of course, yeah. So it's well, it's a massive day, especially for the women, because there's so much, preparation, like hair and makeup and getting ready and all sorts of things. So we were up at 6 a.m. The ceremony was at 4. We'd had photos and all kinds of things all day.
Hold on, wait. You
We
were
were
up
up at
at
6
6.
a.m. Yep.
What takes that long? So you've got 6. Let me do my math here. You've got 10 hours before game time, really.
Well, if you think about it, I think there was 8 women, including the mother of the bride, all the bridesmaids, flower girl, things like that, and everyone's got to get their hair and makeup done and photos taken. So on average, it's going to take each girl probably like an hour. So it's just about allowing for some extra time and just getting super glamorous. I mean,
Okay.
it's a big day.
Actually, the last wedding I went to was actually in 2009.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah,
there you
a
go.
good friend in LA. It was a great wedding in
Yeah.
Cleveland, Ohio. So check this out. So
Yep.
you go through the ceremony, and come
Yep.
on, let's be honest about it. Everyone hates the ceremony. Girls cry. Like, I don't need to see all that emotion. You know me. I don't need all that emotion. I don't need all the
It's
intimacy.
heavy. It's heavy. I was just as nervous to walk down the aisle as a bridesmaid as I was for a basketball game. Like, it was a very adrenaline-filled situation.
No.
It was weird.
So, see, I'm all about the reception.
Oh, the reception was amazing. Everyone's all about the reception.
And where was that held?
So in the same venue, in just this huge, magnificent dining room.
Wow.
Yep.
And from what I understand, people like they try and get it in at the reception, right? So who
Yeah.
who was your partner? Did you have a you know where I'm headed? Did you did you go stag? I don't know how it works. Tell me. So did you invite a dude? Are you supposed to invite a dude, or were you?
No.
Okay.
Well, I'm single and I didn't have a +1, but I also probably didn't need one because I was the maid of honor. So I was pretty occupied for most of the evening, and I think if I had a date, he would have had to sit by himself somewhere else. But no, I partnered with my couple was the best man, and he's I think actually all the groomsmen were married, but it's a very friendly environment. It was awesome. It was great.
So there had to have been some stray dudes there, right? And that
Of
were
course, it's a wedding. Yes.
So did you give out your digits at all during this?
I don't kiss and tell.
That's not
I
kiss
don't
and
kiss
tell.
and
I'm just
tell.
asking. Did you give out your number at all?
No, I didn't.
Really?
No, I didn't.
Facebook?
I don't have Facebook. I'm only on Instagram.
Okay.
Mhm.
Interesting. And what time would these festivities have finished up? So you started your day at 6 a.m.
Yep.
Tip-off's
And we-
4. Well, how long did the wedding take?
The wedding was finished, I think, by 11:30, 12 o'clock, and then the after party started at the house.
Oh,
With the bridal party. So it was a big weekend.
wow. And I'm impressed that you actually had enough time to watch some WNBL games amongst all of this partying.
Of course, I was actually at the wedding and needed to get to my phone to check the scores.
And there were some big games.
Massive.
Actually, a big game that was there were 2 surprising results, I believe, in the first 2 games of the round. Adelaide went to Sydney and beat Sydney.
They did.
And Townsville went to Dandenong, and Dandenong look like they're on a little bit of a run now. Let's talk about that Townsville-Dandenong game. How the hell
do
could
it.
that have happened? Townsville are far too good to go down there and get stomped the way they did.
Townsville just had to have been flat, and that would have been their second L in a row after they just lost to Perth on Sunday, I believe, after the cluster round.
Yes.
So to go to Dandenong a few days later and get stomped like that, I think they would have gone to Sydney, really motivated to get a win. But massive win for Dandenong.
Yeah, well, that win, and I counted them out the last
You
time we were on. I
Yes.
said, Caps, Bendigo, and Dandenong, thanks for coming. But
Yep.
now looking at the ladder, Dandenong is now 7-7, and they're
Yep.
only 1 game out of 4th place. Sydney Flames and Adelaide are both 8-6. The Boomers are 9-6. Townsville are 9-5, and the Lynx sit on top at 10-4.
Yep.
So I tweeted out early apologies to the Dandenong Rangers, saying I may have counted you out too early, and they're on a little bit of a run. Although I'm not convinced, okay? They got Townsville. Look, Townsville could have, who knows what could have happened. They may have been stuck in Brisbane for 3 hours traveling down there. They play a bad game, and then Dandenong finish off the round by going to Bendigo and beating them. Bendigo suck, okay? So I'm not ready to give Dandenong all this love just yet. They need to beat somebody. They need to win two. They need to win their next 2 games, and then I'll believe in them.
They do. I think they need to get some consistent wins, out of that top sort of 4 group, I think. The downfall for Dandenong, I think, is their depth, and I think they suffered this massively when Sarah Blickhav, who I think at the time was their leading scorer, she unfortunately went down with a season-ending injury. So I don't want to count them out just yet, but I do think they are up against it. But I think the production now between the European point guard Palau, I believe I'm pronouncing her name right, and Peterson, they have stepped up a little bit. So I think it'll be interesting down the stretch, but I think their weakness, from my point of view, is the depth.
So then Townsville, as you alluded to earlier, you knew they were going to be pissed off. And I watched that game on Saturday afternoon. It was a national TV game. And right from the jump, you could see Susie wasn't having it.
No.
There was no way they were going to lose that game because Susie Bakovic came to play, and you could feel her will all over that game.
No BS from Susie. And I just want to note, I think Claudia actually changed the starting lineup. She took out Sydney Wise, the American import, and I think she put in Mia to start that game. So I think shuffling with the starting lineup is needed because I think they need more from Mia. And I think Townsville might learn some recruiting lessons going into next year. They've got a few too many of guards that do the same thing.
Well, we mentioned the Michaela Cox situation, and Michaela Cox is healthy. She doesn't have any injury concerns, but she and Mia Murray had been put on the bench, and I guess the feeling was that we'll go with the import. But as you said, they decided to start Mia Murray, and I guess it paid off on Saturday. But Townsville going 1 from 2 on a double road weekend isn't bad, but they would kind of be kicking themselves to throw that game away against Dandenong.
Yes, Dandenong, I know, because I think if you're doing a bit of a projection on your week, you probably think you're going to win the Dandenong game and potentially have a tougher time in Sydney. But I just want to note something. Asia Taylor only played 23 minutes in that game. So I think if she gets up to her average of about 30, and I believe she had a bit of a game-ending injury where she couldn't finish the game.
Yeah, she got poked in the eye by Kayla George.
There you go. So I think that is, I think that's a huge ingredient here. If we're going to rematch tomorrow and Asia Taylor's playing, I think the outcome might be different, and Townsville might take another L on that one.
I want to talk about Katie Ebzery.
Let's talk about it.
Opal, high regard, high esteem. Good player, had pretty good numbers on the weekend in that game. I think she finished with 21. But I never really get the feeling, she kind of frustrates me. I feel like she should be better than what she is. And people say, well, damn, she scored 21. I just thought she left a lot of plays on the table, whether they were for herself or her teammates. When you have the ball a lot, I expect your productivity to be pretty damn high. And I thought there were some empty plays out of her that could have been a lot better. What are your thoughts on her as a player?
I've always been very captivated by her style. I would say that Katie Ebzery is smooth.
Yeah.
So, and historically, she's always really dominated for Sydney. I think this year, potentially it's taken her a little bit longer to really establish herself within this Sydney team, and she's very much needed in that spot. She really needs to distribute and she has to score. Well, she's done that now 2 weekends in a row. So 10 assists last week and then 2 games this week where she's scored in double figures. She had 17 against Adelaide, I believe. Was that on Thursday or Friday night? So, the potential for Katie is definitely there, and she's proven in this league. So I think for Sydney to, stay in the driver's seat, she's got to continue to perform.
And the full disclosure is I'm horrifically brutal on guards, especially point guards. So,
of course, as you should be.
I really hold them to a higher standard. So I guess that's why.
So you're feeling underwhelmed with Katie at the moment, or have been all year?
Yeah, I just felt that there were moments in that game where she needed to really take over and just be like, F this. Like Susie, I tweeted that Susie had that FU mentality going into that game in that first quarter. But Susie's a hardened pro, and the quicker you can get to that level as a player and you understand that's the way you got to be, sometimes you got to do whatever it takes to get your team to win. And Susie was like, hey, give me the ball. and I'll set the table, and then the rest of you can follow, which happened. Darcy Garvin had a great game coming off the bench. And, Sydney made some runs, but there was never any doubt that who was going to win that game.
Yeah, Towns was going to win. Well, I think that's, that's what Susie's good at, because she'll put the team on her back, and it's just sort of strap on and let's get things happening. So
talking about putting a team on your back, Courtney Williams, Sammy Whitcomb are killing it right now. The other big game on Saturday afternoon was Perth at Adelaide. A big chance for Adelaide hosting Perth to jump to nearly the top of the table. It started off fairly tight, but then all of a sudden Perth, as they do in the second half, they just took over. Why are they able to do that? What is going on? How come teams can't say, hey, we got to watch out for them in the second half because we know they will kick our ass in the second half? Why are teams just letting this happen, or Perth just too talented?
You know what? Perth have just got so many potent scoring options. So they've got 4 players right now that are averaging legitimate double figures. So if we go Courtney, Sammy, Alice, and then Kayla Standish is close to averaging, I think, nearly 14 points.
Wow.
So think about that in terms of, that's 4 scorers. The scoring options are just too deadly, and then they actually play D. So the thing is, they're always going to score, but then they're actually getting these stops, and I think that's where these games are turning from sort of like that 2-3 point first half into that 12-13 point lead into the second.
Well, I mean, their first game of the round, I believe, was Thursday night. They hosted Canberra, and Canberra got out to a strong start. I think Canberra were up like 15 or 16 points.
They were, they got going quick.
And I mean, Perth just absolutely walked them down in the second half. I think they beat them by like 26 in the second half. I was shocked, but that, I guess, as you said, it points to the potency of that team. So if you're looking at leading scorers in the league, Liz Cambage is leading the league in scoring at 23, basically and a half per game. But then you have Courtney Williams at 21.
Yep.
5th is Sammy Whitcomb at 17, and 11th is Alice Kunick at 15.
Yep.
So they have 3 of the 11 top scorers in the competition, and I don't care if you're playing under 12s, WNBL, NBA, whatever competition you're in. If you've got 3 of the top 12 scorers in the league,
it's really hard to stop. And I think they make a really good case for the argument of, is good offense always going to beat good defense?
Well, they're on a 9-game winning streak. 9-game winning streak. The team that's come closest to them in this streak was Townsville. They only beat Townsville by 5. Every other team they've beaten by double digits. Their average margin of victory in this streak is 14.6.
I mean, they're the real deal at the moment, and they're sitting on top, and I think they're going to be hard to beat. Like, I was actually just speaking with one of the Perth girls, and they've got 2 games this weekend, and just the confidence, like they're going into these games, and they have full belief that they're going to win both of them.
This week they face Sydney in Sydney, but before that, they're hosting Dandenong.
Yes. So they've got 2 hard games, but 2 absolutely winnable games. Like, you'd think, it's hard to win in Perth, so you'd think that
Dandenong are not beaten. They're no way in hell. Sorry, Dandenong, and I'm gonna copy you in this podcast. There is no way Dandenong is beating Perth in Perth. Sorry, that ain't happening. Okay.
No.
So Dandenong, they then host UCC, so they'll get their win on the weekend. So they'll be 8-8 after this round.
Yep.
But then Sydney are hosting Perth.
Yeah.
So this is going to challenge.
Yeah.
So it will be 10 in a row for Perth going into Sydney on Saturday afternoon.
It's going to be a battle in Sydney, but I'm going to pick Perth.
Huh. And I guess a lot of that will depend on the status of Asia Taylor.
Yes. I believe she'll be fine to play, but, Sydney, if she's not playing, Sydney takes a hit. But I think she'll play.
Now, one team that we haven't mentioned in that mix, Melbourne Boomers.
And didn't they have, Liz Cambage had a brilliant game in Bendigo.
She put it on. Look, Bendigo are hopeless, but you've got to handle your business. Like, it's very easy to go in there and half step. You know what I'm saying? And then the next thing you know, it's only a 5-point game, and you get anxious, and all of a sudden you tighten up and you miss shots, and all of a sudden Bendigo are in the game. So you got to go in Hey, they're pro players as well. You got to go in and handle your business. And Liz did that. She had, I think she was 14 of 16 from the field.
Yep, she shot that at about 88%. And I think it's just I just want to note the productivity in the amount of minutes. She only played about 23 or 24 minutes. And, 38 points and 14 rebounds at 88% or nearly close to 90%. It's pretty good.
Who do you like out of Townsville and Melbourne?
I always like to see, bigs be really challenged.
Yep.
And so I really do like to see Liz going up against, Susie.
Who's better right now? In a one-game playoff, who do you choose? You got to win that game. You take Liz, you take Susie. All the other 4 players are relatively equal.
I'm going with Susie.
Who's having the better season?
I think Liz is having the best season out of all the bigs, but in terms of the total team, is the game in Townsville?
The game is, you're saying in my hypothetical?
Yes.
Let's say it's at a neutral location.
I think I'm going to go with Suze.
Okay. Now, who do you have leading your MVP race?
You know what? So I actually wrote a list this morning.
Nice.
I just wanted to talk dangerous players in the WNBL, and 3 players came to mind.
All right. Well, let's go most dangerous players, and then we'll see how the danger transfers over to whether or not they're MVP candidates. Because just because you're a dangerous player doesn't mean you're getting it in.
Okay, cool. I'm going to go. My top 3. I've got Asia Taylor, Courtney Williams, and Liz Cambage.
Is that in order of danger?
That's in order of danger.
So you've got Asia Taylor as your most dangerous player, Courtney Williams runner-up, and then Liz is your 3rd most dangerous player.
Yep.
Okay. Now let's hear Kelly Bowen's mid-season MVP ranking. A little bit after mid-season. Let's hear who you think right now is leading the MVP race.
I think Asia Taylor. She's just had some massive games. She's so versatile.
Over Courtney Williams.
I'm going to say Asia Taylor, and this is why.
Okay.
I just think her numbers are just a little bit higher than Courtney's, and I think she's rebounded just a little bit better, as she should. She's a big.
Yep. What happened when they went, when the teams played each other? What's the split right now? Because, see, I think that should have a little bit to do with it. So if we're looking at Asia Taylor's... Yep, go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, I think they're even because
1-1?
Yeah, I think Sydney beat them first, and then Perth beat Sydney, and now this is the 3rd game.
So if we look at their numbers, Asia Taylor's averaging 20.4 points per game. Mm-hmm. She's averaging 8 rebounds a game. All right, and if we look at Courtney Williams, as we said earlier, she's averaging 21 a game. She's averaging 2 steals a game, and she should be getting more assists. That's the only thing I don't like. Sammy Whitcomb seems to be the main assist maker on that team, but it's tough.
Honestly, you could probably flip a coin. The numbers are pretty damn good.
What about Liz?
Liz is good. She's a great player. I just think she's missed a couple of games.
Mm-hmm.
Has she only missed 1 game, or has she missed 2 with suspension? Was it just 1?
I think she missed the 1 up at Townsville.
So that's it. But I think in terms of how voting's going and how dominant these other performances are, I just think that's the only reason why she would potentially miss out at this point. But you know what? We've got 3 more rounds to go before the finals. 4 more rounds. I don't know. Liz is definitely on her way to making a strong case if she's going to keep up performances like she did this weekend.
And Sammy Whitcomb also would probably be 4th or 5th. She's averaging 17 a game. She's getting 3 steals a game.
And she's hot right now. She is in form.
Yep, and she's getting 4.5 assists a game.
She's a joy to watch, isn't she?
I watched some of those games with Seattle, and she was getting it done. She's a brilliant player, and the league is very fortunate to have her participating. So what else you got for me? What else is happening?
What else have I got for you?
That was an outstanding roundup.
Was it?
Very good, very good. We're happy. So come on now, you can be honest. Now that you're loose, we've talked for 20 minutes. You can spill the beans on what happened at the wedding.
I don't want to kiss and tell. I've got something really, really good to tell, but I don't want to put it out there.
Ooh, Okay. Well, guys, you hear that?
I'll tell you on our own time, but
Fellas, you hear that? So, she's not shy. She went to the wedding. She wasn't going there just to be a participant.
Mm.
I hear you. Well, thank you, Kelly. That is a great roundup. We look forward to having you back in a couple of weeks. We'll make this a fortnightly thing. You provide good entertainment, and the feedback was outstanding. Kelly Bowen calling in from Melbourne to give us the WNBL wrap. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.